Vector is now in its third year. It's a digital media, new media art festival that also wants to include games in that conversation. Rather than say something like an indie game festival which focuses on games, we try to take other kinds of digital artworks and actually place them in conversation with games in different ways.
We're showing a game called Moof. It's a game that's played inside of a tent with a blanket controller. So it's a game where you lie inside of a tent on a blanket made with conductive thread, and you touch buttons, and you're going to see animations and play music that's projected onto the ceiling of the tent.
The game is called Control, and it's an experimental game about game interfaces and the limitations of the game interface. So it looks at these limitations from a few different angles. The limitation of the interface in terms of the physical interface and how we connect our hand to the software through the hardware of the machine. So that could be the keyboard or the joystick.
Sext Adventure is a texting game about sexting with a robot. You text a number, and that number texts you back with a message, choosing different routes that you can go on. So it's like a classic choose your own adventure game, but it's about sexting. And as you keep playing, you go through different narratives, and there are like 20 different endings that you can go to, but you learn more about this bot who's been programmed to sext you back as you play.
My piece is called Cootie Catcher with Balls, and it's a piece about my experience learning about gender and kids' toys and stuff when I was a kid. So for me, the cootie catcher, or some people call it like a matchmaker or fortune teller, was like the first time someone told me that like about girl toys or like something that's like not for you, I guess. So yeah, and so the way you interact with it is by using these balls here as like an interface, which sort of represent like boy toys, I guess, and like sports.
Vector, over the past 3 years, we've really tried to bring people from the other communities who do that kind of like really radically experimental work and bring them here as well, to sort of get people together to have like more critical conversations about what these sort of critical experiments in games could look like, rather than say mainstream indie games or something like that.
The game is controlled by a blanket, which is all done with soft circuitry and conductive thread. Your hand connects the positive and negative, and then that's what fires the circuit.
There's an evolution of game controllers built into it. So each level, each of the 10 levels takes you through a sort of a potted history of game controls. You start off with the Atari 2600, one button joystick. You go on to the Sega Master System, which has 2 buttons and a directional pad, and NES, which had 4 buttons and a directional pad, and so on. And they become more and more complex.
It's actually within your messaging. So any phone can do it. It doesn't have to be a smartphone. It can be any phone that can text, and you literally like go into your messaging, text the number, like you would text your friend or anything.
Everyone's been knowing that you have to interact with it with the balls. Some people squeeze them and push them and stuff, but eventually they lift them up. What's funny is the more comfortable they get with it, the more they want to like test it, and you see people like going nuts with it, which is cool.
We're also super interested in having other game developers making games for the tents, so we'd really like to turn Moof into this like platform for kind of weird music-y art type games and stuff like that. So we're going to try and encourage more developers to like make games, and then we can show their game in our tent at whatever events we're showing.
Well, I'm from Ireland, a place called Cavan, which is in the northeast, so I'm out in the country. And you know what I do a lot of the time, it's pretty much independent, and the folks I'm talking to, like Martin and Scott, who run Vector Festival, it's all online, and pretty much the community of practice is spread out all over the place. But it's absolutely lovely to have the opportunity to travel and to meet up in person.
It's really nice to come together in a game jam, surrounded by a community, and like have physical people there to support you and say good things. And so I really appreciate that here.
People have responded really well to it. It's a different kind of thing when you have like a couple of kinetic sculptures beside a game about video game interfaces, sort of placed in conversation with like a sext adventure sexting game on an iPhone, and then tucked away in the back corner this like blanket 40 tent with constellations projected on that you can interact with. So everything sort of works together, we think, in a really interesting way, and other people have definitely responded to that. But also, it sort of shows the breadth of what we consider an interface to be, and that was really what we were trying to do.